We got games announcing, we got games launching, and we got games delaying. Let's talk. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and today is Friday, August 25th, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Starting off, the big thing that happened this week was GamesCom. GamesCom is going on all through this weekend, but the big kind of flagstone event of One Night Live, Opening Night Live, with Jeff Keighley has happened. And there was, as with most Jeff Keighley events, it went on for 2.5+ hours, and it had a lot of game announcements. Although Jeff tried to temper our expectations going in, most of it was about games that are kind of coming out in the next year and not any like big announces that are kind of way out there like we've seen at his events in the past. The first one that I wanted to talk about was Alan Wake 2. I watched the trailer from this, and it kind of just like really gives you the vibes, and that's kind of what I was enjoying about it. Also, just hearing Alan Wake's voice just takes me back to like college years. So I need to hear that guy's voice more often. I think that guy needs to read a Stephen King novel for Audible or something like that, so I can listen to that novel on repeat. But yeah, it kind of showed the trailer. Kind of talked about we're getting the author's point of perspective, and it showed a couple cameos. I think there was Bradley Cooper in the trailer. So yeah, I just really liked the Alan Wake trailer from Opening Night Live. Another game that caught my eye was Little Nightmares 3. I believe this was an announcement. I don't think we've heard anything prior to this about Little Nightmares 3. Which I forgot was made by Supermassive, the Until Dawn folks, which is cool. It's a cool fact that I learned writing this stuff up. And the one cool new feature that they're adding to Little Nightmares is that it will be co-op. So a little co-op platformer kind of gives me Unraveled vibes with Little Nightmares plus co-op. Kind of gives me a little bit of Unraveled vibes, which I enjoyed playing with my wife. And yeah, that's why it kind of caught my eye. It's something I could play with a friend or a significant other, and so I'm looking forward to that. Another game that caught my eye was Stormgate. They kind of wore their influences on their sleeve. They said that they were inspired by Warcraft 3 and StarCraft 2. It's an RTS, and they announced a new faction of like devils that like explode and then make smaller minions. But looked really cool. I've been kind of looking for like a real-time strategy itch, and this one kind of seems like it'll kind of do that for me. There was a bunch of other games announced, but I've got smaller articles about those games. Although looking at the list of like everything that was announced, there was only, I don't know, a dozen, maybe 18 or so that were announced. So yeah, I mean, this was a kind of tighter schedule, even though the runtime was still just as long. But moving right along, we do have games launching. We have FromSoft's latest game, Armored Core 6, and it seems to be seems to be off to a pretty good start. I'd like to say it's their game post Elden Ring, but obviously these were kind of developed at the same time, considering the release dates. The difference between Elden Ring's launch and this. They haven't been developing this game, for just a year. So they've been working on it for a while, and it didn't quite get Elden Ring levels of Metacritic score, but an 87 is still a really good score. I've already started to see some of my friends talk about it, and yeah, it looks like fun. It looks hard. Apparently the Armored Core, this would, if I got into it, which I'm not sure I will, this seems like the community is a little divided in that it's a little bit more casual than previous Armored Core games, which is interesting to me, considering FromSoft's kind of adding that FromSoft difficulty curve to it. But yeah, overall it sounds like a challenging but fun game to play, and you can kind of see the Elden Ring bones or the FromSoft bones in the game. So I think a lot of people are enjoying it, and congrats on the 87 Metacritic. Moving on to a game that wasn't reviewed as well. It's a solid 7 out of 10. Immortals of Aveum. This one kind of slipped my mind. It wasn't even on my competitive slate. And and yeah, the EA magical shooter. So this was their kind of Call of Duty like, but with magic, you're using finger guns and multicolored guns and doing all this kind of stuff. And it just apparently it just falls flat on its face as far as like the story, which I don't really expect much from the story of a first-person shooter campaign. It's 2023. We've kind of seen this for over a decade with the Call of Duty games and their campaigns being kind of short and forgettable. So, and like, there's not a lot of world building, or at least not good world building. And it's just like, it sounds like you're just kind of going through, you're the protagonist doing quippy one-liners, and then just growing infinitely strong until you have to fight bigger, badder stuff. So, sounds like it's dime a dozen. It's a solid 70 on Metacritic. So, take that as you will. Assassin's Creed Mirage was part of opening night live, but the one thing that I saw this week that I thought was really cool was the kind of breakdown of how they're building Baghdad. And so they talk about the history, about how Baghdad's kind of rubble and ruins. We don't have a lot of details, and so they brought in experts. Ubisoft is really known for taking kind of ancient structures and rebuilding them and putting a lot of care and detail into them, and it seems like they did that with Assassin's Creed Mirage in Baghdad. So tourism mode is a thing, and potentially something to enjoy in Assassin's Creed Mirage. The voice actor for Mario is retiring. No, I'm not talking about Chris Pratt. The original Mario voice, or maybe not the original, but the guy who's been doing Mario's voice for 27 years, Charles Martinet, is retiring. I am, I think this came up in a lot of my conversations this week with friends. Just a big step. There'll have to be a new Mario voice somewhere in Nintendo headquarters, so I'm really curious. I'm also curious just how much he's been adding to the role over the past 27 years. I know that, or at least recently, I know that Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Odyssey, like, there was a lot of new voices and a lot of new quips, and there was a lot of stuff where he had to interact with the hat and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious how much Mario's voice has kind of been changing. I bet there's a video out there that just kind of montages, all the Mario lines together, and I'd love to see that kind of how it changes over time. But retiring. I assume he'll still be doing circuits around the conventions, so you'll still see him as the kind of voice of Mario, but no longer the official voice of Mario. So pouring out for Charles Martinet. Activision Blizzard Watch is continuing. Microsoft has announced or talked about kind of new stipulations on how they're going to try and get the UK regulations to go through or lay off. So what they're doing is they have to spin off the cloud gaming portion of Activision Blizzard King. They're spinning that off to give it to Ubisoft. And then that should hopefully appease the UK board. The details are kind of a little wacky here, and I don't quite know. Got a little jargony about like what parts of the business need to spin off. I'm not an expert on M&A, but yeah, hopefully they're gonna get it through. I mean, obviously they're still trying to meet that October deadline where the deal will fall through if they don't get it through get it across the finish line. So. Hopefully this appeases the UK ratings board and they can move forward with their purchase. Speaking of game delays, like I said in the opener, one of the big games we were expecting to see at GamesCom, or at least the next Jeff Keighley event, was Dragon Age Dreadwolf. And I think not necessarily part of One Night Live or Opening Night Live, but kind of in the news cycle around it. Dragon Age Dreadwolf has been delayed to 2025, which means that when it was last seen at the Game Award, or no, I think it was last seen at Game Awards more than a year ago, but it was first seen 2 years before that. So we've known about Dragon Age Dreadwolf for a while, and we're just not going to get a lot of details, but hopefully it'll be playable 2 years from now, which is what they're aiming for. So. But this is also coming on the back of like EA laying off like 50 employees at BioWare. They're trying to like condense it down and shorten it and make the team a little smaller. So It's kind of comes hand in hand, delays and layoffs, unfortunately. But hopefully one day we'll see Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Moving right along, I don't know how big a gaming monitor needs to be considered just a TV, but LG is putting out a 48-inch OLED gaming monitor. 48 inches. I've got a 32 here in front of me, and I can't imagine another foot on this thing. Like I don't have enough room on my desk, and I'm pretty sure 48 inches is just a small TV at that point. Let me know what you think down below, but it's also $650, so that's a lot higher than I would be willing to spend on a gaming monitor. And it's not even the crazy 57-inch widescreen, one double wide or something. But yeah, I just don't know whether 48 inches is small TV or big monitor. So, but I feel like I've gotten into this argument before about like it's all about the plugins on the back, but don't want to get too much into it. Moving right along, another cool piece of tech coming out that we got to see a little bit more details on the PlayStation Portal. The article on the PlayStation blog also talked about some like headphones that are coming out, and I like the little earbud carrying case. It looks like kind of like a bullet. But anyway, the PlayStation Portal, $200. So we know what the price is. It's a let's look an 8-inch screen between basically a DualSense controller cut in half. So that's what it'll do. And then I still don't understand the tech about like how it's gonna be streaming. Is it just connecting to a cloud via the internet and like streaming from there, or am I downloading stuff onto the? I guess I wouldn't be downloading content directly onto the console. It doesn't look like it has. I don't know where you would find the storage for that thing. So, yeah, an always-on connection. It's called the PlayStation Portal, which I think is the first time they revealed the name of it. So that was cool. But $200, I gotta see it in the wild before I'd kind of say like let's get it or not. And I would just play on my PlayStation if I wanted to play any of the games. So, kind of curious what market they're going for. I think they're going for a kind of mobile market, but for console. Trying to undercut the Steam Deck maybe, but yeah, I'm just kind of curious what's going on there. But let me know if you're interested in the PlayStation Portal down below. Last but not least, a game I am excited for. After all the delays, I get an announcement that I really like. Not necessarily at GamesCom, but kind of wrapped up in this week. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. So there's a lot of Lord of the Rings games that have been coming out. We recently came off of Gollum, which was an understatement or quite upsetting, but I'm still excited to return to the lands of Middle Earth. And this one I've been excited for a long time is the co-op survival crafting game. So I think you're going into Moria as a group of dwarves with your friends, and you're trying to like build out your own little like dwarven settlements and probably delve too greedily in too deep. But the game's actually coming out this year. It launches October 24th, which for anybody who's seen the calendar for game releases in October, it is quite crowded. But this is also a game I'm not going to play like day in, day out. This will be like 1 or 2 sessions a week with friends when we're bored. So I'm still gonna pick this up and start up a server and enjoy myself playing as a dwarf in the Lord of the Rings world and building up my own settlement, which should be pretty cool. That's it for this week. Let me know if you feel I forgot anything down below in the comments. But as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do, please follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch so you can see more great content like this. I'll have links down below in the description. Thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend. And I hope you have a super day. Bye.